She doesn't even go here!
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Hummel, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hello! Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Not So Straight Nerds. I'm your host, Luke.
And I'm your host, Alicia.
And today, we are talking about Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, the movie spin-off of the iconic Nickelodeon show. And y'all, I was so hyped for this movie.
Yes, me too. Obviously, we'll talk about the context of the release and all that stuff. But the movie itself, I think everyone was excited for. A lot of clips were leaked online, but fortunately for them, it only made everyone, I think, more excited. So yeah, I was very hyped for this movie, and then especially after our somewhat recent conversation on the Netflix adaptation of the show, I think this was refreshing. This is like, okay,
Absolutely.
new content. So yeah, I'm excited. What's our vibe for today before we get into it?
Yeah, the vibes are pretty good. Basically, Sundays have turned into the day where we just binge Hacks right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very excited to get back into Hacks. That
Very
show
much
has
so.
been so fun so far.
Yes, we'll definitely try to do a video at some point when we finish that. That's been very fun. So, yeah, my vibes are also good. I thought my brain was foggy, and then we made really good jokes right before this video. Maybe we'll make them again just so y'all can hear them because they were pretty good. So.
We got warmed up.
Yeah, the brain is massaged and woken up. It got
It's
its
no
shot
longer
of
smooth.
espresso.
It has structure.
Lumps and bumps. Anyways, let's move on. I feel like we're regressing.
So before we get started, this is going to be a spoiler review. We are talking spoilers on basically everything Avatar.
Yeah.
So that's Avatar: The Last Airbender, Avatar Aang: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, Netflix show, the movie that shall not be named, maybe.
Oh god.
It is the only other Avatar movie. But,
unfortunately.
yeah, so you've been warned.
Yeah.
So I want to quickly kind of start at the beginning.
Going back to the basics.
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. We talked a little bit about this in our Netflix review,
Yeah.
but was like around the show growing up. I've seen episodes of it, but I did not binge it until I hit college.
That's crazy. I was surprised to hear that. I grew up with it. Me and my mom, we loved that show. I couldn't tell you the amount of times we watched that while I was growing up, and she still watches it all the time. So yeah, I don't know.
Alright.
I've always loved it. The movie existed, but the show was always there and it was always good. And even in it, like, I feel like as I have grown up, and obviously my tastes have changed, my expectations and what is it called?
Like
Like-
preferences?
Yeah, they've heightened basically. I've still really enjoyed the show, and so that's very, very fun. I love growing up with something and still loving it as I go through different phases of life. That's always a fun experience.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
love when kid aimed material or family material is able to kind of grow up with you.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to the amount of care put into your project.
Mm-hmm.
If it truly is an evergreen story, then anyone from any age should be able to grow with it.
Yeah.
So,
agree.
and I think this is one of the best examples of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, I think overall thoughts, we love the show. We probably went into more detail in our other videos since the Netflix adaptation is obviously a direct adaptation from that pretty much.
Surely.
But yeah, just overall really good vibes. And I'm excited to talk about them as adults and all the layers that brings with it. So, yeah.
Indeed. But next, I want a little bit of a sidestep. Legend of Korra.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching part of that when it first came out, and I wasn't really vibing with it. I think I watched it like when it was coming out. And it was fine, but it was very different. And I think when everyone is so used to like the original show, and this is a very different tone and vibe and Avatar just in general, that could be hard to let go of. So, but I will say I revisited it in college, and I'm very glad I did because I actually really liked it. I think the best season, I'll say it, I think the best season of Legend of Korra is better than any season in the original show.
See, I love that you said that because I feel the exact way.
Yeah. Now, I do think it has a worse season of the bunch.
I think it has the two worst
two.
seasons.
Yeah.
The last half of Legend of Korra, I think, is an unfortunate low. They have great ideas, but I think they just don't come to fruition the way that they wanted, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But
I
season
agree.
2,
I think that's like the best season they've ever done. No, I agree. I loved her on a rewatch. I feel like it came at a good part of my life in college where I was like ready to understand her on a different level and accept her. And, you know, I feel like I accepted nuance better in college than I did when it first came out. And so maybe that helped as well. I don't know. I found a new appreciation for flawed characters, especially like one like an Avatar. If anything now, sometimes I get annoyed with like perfect characters. It's like, shut up.
or certainly characters who act like they're perfect.
Yes. Yes, very much so. I have several characters in the MCU I feel that way about, where I'm like, you just feel like you're better than everybody else, and it's annoying, and you're not, and so it's like annoying to watch. So I have a new appreciation for characters like Korra that are still amazing and kind and good avatars, but definitely make some pretty big mistakes as well. But that's kind of part of the whole point, part of her journey. So I feel like overall I still liked the show. Definitely still have complaints, but definitely as they have some high highs as well. So shout out to Legend of Korra, and you should go see it if you're ready for some nuanced characters. And they explore like the expansion of bending as well. Like obviously now Toph is not the only metal bender, and so there's a lot more exploration with that. There's more characters now that Aang has learned how to take away bending. There are more characters that have kind of explored that realm. There's a lot of more mature conversations. I do feel like that one, while it's still accessible for kids, I feel like better understood as adults.
It really is the difference between Avatar being a child and Korra being a teenager to a young adult.
Yeah.
I think the shows really reflect that in the type of conversations they have.
Yeah.
But I feel like the action and the fun characters make it still, I think, accessible to a younger audience, regardless.
I think so. Yeah, for sure. And I think it also just shows the difference, not only when you're the Avatar, but you still have some big differences with what tribe you come from. Like, he is such an air nomad, like, aggressively so. Again, we'll talk about this in the movie, but I feel like that just matches his personality so well. Whereas Korra, it's almost weird. She's just basically kind of nothing like Aang in a lot of ways. But I don't know. It's fun to see that. It's fun to see. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about the upcoming show with the new Avatar. So, I don't know. I like that they're not all the same.
Yeah.
And they've never been reflected at the same, but I do feel like when Aang looked back at the past Avatars, they all have seemed like overall wise. And so it was kind of fun to see Korra. She like wasn't wise. She was like sometimes like a bratty young adult, and I don't know, it's just kind of refreshing to see that. It's like you're not perfect yet, and that's fun. We'll get there. So yeah, shout out to you, Korra. Love you, queen. Yeah.
And then just so quickly, the Netflix remake.
Yes, very
live
quick
action. You know, I sort of understand the desire. Some of the castings are great.
Yeah.
And I would say like 70% of the time, the bending looks great.
I agree.
But you're trying to do a lot of story into what, like 8 hours,
yeah,
and it makes everything feel rushed. It makes things
Mhm.
feel unexplored. It makes the things that you put here not always make sense.
They change things when I like we don't and add things, or like we don't have time for the stuff that is there. Why are we changing and adding things? Aang didn't even learn waterbending in the first season. It was like very quickly thrown at you. Oh yeah, he's learned waterbending. You didn't see any of it, but he did
Yeah.
in the time you were gone. In like I don't know, 30 seconds it shows that. I was gonna say 5 minutes, but that's way too long. Anyways, yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
it's almost, I would say, like too ambitious for its own good, and
I
it
think-
loses a lot of the magic in its translation.
I think that's what's hard is so many adaptations. There are such talented people that could take these roles, but that's not the end all be all of an adaptation. It's also visual effects, it's storytelling, it's style, and there's so much you can do with animation that you can't do in live action, at least not well, without a really big budget. And they're not always willing to do that. So I'm like, I don't know. At the end of the day, you got to decide if you're gonna do it right, do it. But if you're gonna half-ass it, then like maybe just don't make it. You know.
Indeed.
Anyways.
So, all of that to be said, they announced this movie. And obviously its release would change it a little. We will circle back to that.
Yes.
But there's a movie about a grown-up Aang gang.
Yes, this has been in talks for a while, like several years. Because they announced at some like probably panel of some sort. They announced like I don't know 4 or even 5 movies. I remember a movie about Kyoshi was talked about, a movie about Zuko was talked about, the Avatar adult gang,
And Korra.
and Korra. And then the spin-off show about the next Avatar has also been in whispers, you know, about like twins being involved and all these things also for years. So it's fun to see it finally happen and finally actually be talked about and have a trailer and all these things. And I do hope we see more. However, I hope they're treated better. At least like the movies, I hope they're treated better. I don't really have faith in that, but I don't know. We shall see. Let's talk about the release, I guess.
Sure.
Shall we talk about the release?
We can jump to that. Why not?
Sure. When do you remember when this was talked about where it said it was instead of being in theaters, it was just going to go straight to streaming?
I think that was late last year because I remember that impacted where it was on my anticipation list for 2026. That like just came out when we were working on those.
That's so disappointing. I feel like for no apparent reason it was going to be in theaters, and then for no apparent reason they were like, yeah, it's just going to be on streaming now. And then wasn't it supposed to release in like September or something, and then it also got moved up?
It got moved up. Yes,
Yeah.
I know that. But
It
it's
got-
also been ready for a hot second because
Yeah.
I know you were talking about scenes getting leaked.
No, like the whole movie
But it was the
got
whole
leaked.
movie
Yeah,
that got leaked.
Yeah, I was being nice, but like the whole movie got leaked. Yeah. So it's been ready for a while, and then they moved it up kind of somewhat last minute, I would say, with not a lot of promotion. I would say that was the bigger thing is I didn't find out until maybe a couple weeks ago that it got moved up. It's just the handling of this entire release has been horrible. With it moving to streaming, the entire thing gets leaked, and then they're moving it up with very little and quiet notice. It's like you want it to fail. The Netflix show, I don't know if maybe that scared them, but I feel like maybe that's the only reason I can think it got moved up.
That's my thought. And maybe giving more space for the new show that's coming out later.
Yeah.
Like trying to... maybe they thought that the second season would like be talked about longer.
Yeah.
But then that super underperformed.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, well, let's
Now we gotta do
something.
something. No, it's just one of those things where sometimes people complain that Sony mishandles a lot of like Spider-Man content. Basically anything that's not a actual Spider-Man movie, they often mishandle. And I feel like even without looking at a list of stuff they've done, I probably agree with that. And I feel like I'm starting to think that about Paramount here, where it's like, just give it to someone else if you're gonna handle it like this, because this is sad.
It's very weird. Like, you're spending so much money on this live action remake
Mhm.
that clearly the interest has super died down on.
Mm-hmm.
But like the initial season was still pretty good for them. So
Yeah.
like it's not that there isn't interest in this franchise.
Yeah.
It's just, people were interested in it as an animation.
Mhm.
And I look at people's opinions on it. The live action is just not capturing the magic. And
Yeah.
now you have an animated movie.
But then you're mishandling that, so everyone's just pissed off. It's just very complicated. I know people have been talking about the MCU lately is also just as a whole not listening to the fans as much. There's just a big disconnect between what people are asking for and showing up for versus what they're making. So there's it's not just Paramount. It's the MCU's having conversation. The over in the DCU, people have been starting to have those conversations, even with how early that is to have those conversations. So they're certainly not the only ones, but it does make you wonder, why is this becoming such a pattern for so many companies? Like, why is there such a disconnect?
And especially with how big of a moment Avatar's had, like, in the last, 5 years, even
Mhm.
before the live action came out.
Yeah.
Like, to feel like there's no draw to people going to the theaters for this feels really unfounded.
Yeah.
And we'll never know what that could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think adult-aimed animation, or a more adult-aimed
Mhm.
animation, is pretty untested overall, especially at least with American audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this would have been a really interesting indicator to see what that population could be.
Yeah.
And I think that there's also a problem right now of people not showing up for projects that they're claiming they want.
I don't know. I feel
but-
like this year has been a little bit of an exception to that, because we talked about in a few videos ago how the trend seems to be a little different this year, where smaller movies are often making a lot more noise and getting a lot more love than like some bigger, like Moana and I'm forgetting. I had a list when we talked about this, but a lot of like Master of the Universe, like big IP that theoretically a few years ago would have probably made a lot of money. Now people are kind of tired of it. And yes, I remember because this one person on TikTok that talks about movies a lot was saying that having taste is like cool again.
Mhm.
So hopefully we're shifting away from that, away from, just accepting popular things that we know. But I wouldn't say we're totally away from that yet. We're starting a trend that I hope continues.
Mhm.
But we shall see. But I feel like this is one that would have done well. I would have been shocked if it didn't do well, if they treated it better.
Yeah.
Because people were so excited, and then they started mishandling it, and that's when people were starting to be turned off by it. So, I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows?
No, I would love for this to go to another studio. Off the top of my head, I don't know which one I'd prefer it go to, but
I don't know. I just
Paramount ain't it.
Yeah. And another reason why I think we all
shouldn't
hope,
trust it with anything from Warner Brothers.
Yep. Absolutely.
Bananas. Anyways, do we go right into best parts?
The actual movie, yeah.
Yes.
Sure. Oh my gosh. First of all, I was so excited to see them all as adults. Everyone, was saying, "Oh my gosh, my childhood crushes are age appropriate again." And they all look great. They all have really long, luscious hair. Except for Aang, but he's like the hottest bald man you've ever seen in your life. It looked great from what we saw. It looked great, and honestly, I didn't see much of anything about the actual plot. I really knew next to nothing about what this was actually going to be about. I just knew they were going to be together. They all looked great, and we were gonna see them as a family again. And then I saw some clips. I didn't seek them out, to be fair, because as excited as I was for this movie, I'm not gonna support people like leaking stuff.
No.
But I mean, it was all over social media, at least mine. And they must knew I liked the content. They were like, "Here you go," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Anyways, people were making edits to them. It was kind of unavoidable. Anytime I opened social media, it was just like there, and I'm like, okay. So I saw some things. I saw little moments like Zuko saving Toph in that one scene. Toph having like the pointy helmet mask thing was awesome. I've heard some of the voice acting. I heard Aang's voice acting more than Zuko's. Zuko's was the one I was nervous about, which we'll get there. I don't have a problem with it, but I was nervous about it going into it. But I really, really liked Aang's voice in this movie. I loved the angst with him and Katara. Yeah, I don't know. I loved so much about the designs. I don't know. You go. I have other things, but
Yeah. Overall, I loved this thing.
yeah.
This was very awesome. I think it ultimately surpassed my expectations.
Yeah. Hopefully me too.
Gosh. Hold on. I want to go through my outline. So, where did I start? Animation.
Mhm.
Dude, they leveled up this animation really well.
I feel like they kept some quirky things that we loved from the original show, like how dramatic their faces are. They're getting like giant heads when they're upset or yelling. They have big eyes when they're surprised. I love those little things.
Yeah, it's very anime inspired
yeah.
reaction type animation, which I think the show did really well, and they found really great moments to use that here.
Yes. Yeah.
And I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh my god, it's just visually so compelling. There's
stunning.
I think parts of it, even though it's more 2D, well, it is 2D, but some scenes of it kind of remind me of K-pop Demon Hunter. Just in like the bowl, like all of the color and the movement of everything. Loved.
Very cool. I would say obviously like the bending looks really great. That's never been a problem, but I do feel like it was still elevated here. But I would say it was visually stunning, even just like in shots of like an atmosphere. I think there was one scene I think with the city where there was like a sunset that looked really pretty, and then when they're in the ship and they're going through like the tornado area, that all looked really, really cool. Then they get to like the lion turtle area, and that looked gorgeous. The spirit world, anytime we went there, that was gorgeous.
The big fight at the end when the
yes,
temple's
all
coming
the
down
different
on the
colors.
city.
Yeah, so great. I loved specifically, which is visual stuff, but on like character designs, I loved the designs of two new characters. The new Airbender guy that we meet. And then, what's the avatar's name? Sonam? Sonam. Their, like, tattoos looked so cool. I loved the design of the staff. I feel like it was simple enough, but also still very pretty. I loved the choice of the one girl in the denied group where her eyes turned pink at certain times and then went away, like when she lost her powers.
That was Kalik.
Yeah, I loved that choice. Her design was giving a little bit of Arcane to me. I mean, obviously, like, different styles still. But I don't know, like, her hair looked
The way
like
that whole
to
group
me.
fought felt very
Yeah.
Arcane, with, like, the very quick, but, like, quick movements, and then, like, something continues to move after the character moves,
Yeah.
and then, like, quick jolts in the way that they fight. It was very cool.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Should we talk about the story?
I love the story.
Okay.
I want to circle back to the story.
Okay, sounds good.
So action, we talked about how action's great, age of characters, voice acting. Okay. I love this voice acting cast.
Me
Um,
too.
as soon as Aang has like his first line as an adult, it hits me in the face as a reminder that that's Eric Nam from the last season of The Traitors. And I was like, guys,
No, we were saying like King. Okay, spoilers for that season, I guess. 3, 2, 1. King, you may not have won that season, but you won in this movie, and you won our hearts in this movie and in that show. So happy to hear him here. I think he's very talented, and he worked so well for Aang. I loved this choice. He was probably one of my favorite like voices in this movie.
it was very inspired because his voice, like he's, it's a mature voice, but he still has such like a light and youthful energy to his voice as an adult.
Very like kind and gentle as well.
Yes.
It's very like he's like the perfect choice, I think. I feel like I didn't realize that at the time. I was just excited because I knew who he was. But he's like a perfect choice for Avatar Aang specifically. Ugh.
No, and he killed that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so cool. I also want to shout out Stephen Yoon as
Yes.
Zuko.
I'll be honest, I was nervous at first just because his voice is so distinct, especially as like Mark from Invincible. So, and the voice of Zuko is so iconic. Everybody loved his voice in the original, so I was a little nervous on how just the difference. I wasn't doubting him as a voice actor. It's just I didn't know if I would like the choice of his voice being here. But I actually really did. I feel like the first line he said, I said, okay, that actually really works for him as an adult. I feel like it helps that they have a completely different design. It's not like they're still the same age and just a different voice. I think that would be more jarring. But it worked really well here that they have almost a completely different design. So
Absolutely. And I really love how, like, I don't hear Mark at all. I think he's actually a crazy good voice artist because I was listening to be like, can I hear Mark at all? And it was like, no.
like I could still tell. I agree. I could still tell it was him, but I agree. I wasn't picturing Mark when I heard him talk. So I think that's awesome. Shout out to him.
Especially after having listened to him in that role for years at this point.
Yeah, and somewhat recently just watched that latest season. So shout out to him. He's very talented, in person or voice acting. So yeah.
Indeed. Everyone else does great, but I lastly want to shout out to Kehoi Kwan showing up as one of the avatars was so fun.
Yes.
And I love how quirky it was that he like didn't walk. He just, as an earthbender, moved the earth around him to get around. I thought that was so fun.
Yeah.
And then Dave Bautista does as good a job, I think,
Yeah.
as he does in any other voice acting role.
Sure. It fit here.
And I think the casting on that character was really great. Probably
Yeah.
the best casting for a voice acting role that he's had.
Yeah, it's it's a new character, and so there were no expectations previous voice acting, so I think it fit.
But I really loved Jessica Matten as Katara. I thought she was also a really big standout.
I agree. I want to do like a smaller shout out just to the voice acting for Toph and Sokka, just because
For
they
sure.
do have a very specific charm and wittiness to them that I think were nailed here, and that's not always easy to do.
Absolutely.
But funny enough, I do feel like the live action show also does a overall pretty good job at that. But I do think here is better. I think there are
Yes.
some advantages when you don't have to also like physically act out that wittiness. You just have to do it with your voice. Not to like diminish that, but I think that way you can focus on bringing that wittiness to your voice and not have to worry about also what am I doing with my body, my hands, all these things. So shout out to them. I think they did great. But I agree. I was also wanting to shout out Katara. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it fit her so well.
I mean, her character has so much like emotion and wisdom behind her voice.
Yeah.
And I feel like that carries really well.
Yeah, I love the scene where they turn into like different ages, and you mentioned Katara and Zuko turn into old people, and so it could be saying like the spirit world is saying they have old souls. And I loved that because I feel like especially for Katara that works really, really well. Yeah. So shout out to your comment on that. I wanted to shout that out. So
No, want to hear the horrible thing I saw someone say.
Oh,
That was
no.
the only chance Sokka had to see what his sister looked like old. Hate that.
No, I need to disassociate from that comment right now. I'm like, no, I need to disassociate. Oh no. Ugh, I can't.
Anyways, changing gears.
How dare you, honestly? How dare you repeat that? I'm so sorry to our listeners. I'm so sorry. It's not my fault. I didn't know he was gonna say that. Anyways, let's move on, please.
I also want to shout out our antagonist here. Make sure I get his name. Taga. I think this was such a badass airbending villain.
Oh, I love it because in the original show, obviously, we don't get to see all that much about how much airbending can do. Because I mean, Aang is a really good airbender, but he's also a kid.
But he's not. He was never trained at like his peak ability.
Exactly, and so he has some fun and quirky things with air, and he still has powerful moments. But it was very fun to see like an airbender in their peak element here, in their peak ability, which is interesting because he's also not originally an airbender, but he got to be kind of trained to be as good of one as he could be. So that was very fun here.
Absolutely. I really, really love the contrast between him and Aang.
Yeah.
And I did see another comment talking about how, like, Aang and his relationship with Katara and his friends are what, like, stopped him from becoming, Taga.
Yeah.
And so true. I think I don't know. I think that the dynamics here go a lot deeper than I think some people are wanting to give it credit for. But no, and I love that off the bat, you hear him just like so untrusting or, you know, dismissive of the other benders there. And I think in a way that could be overlooked as casual, but like, he's like, you know.
Yeah.
His design, his mark, and like the separation that looks just like the staff, so cool. His little arrow thing. The bending was super cool. I loved the idea that airbenders are better together, and like the chain of like linking them and then like flying together.
That was very cool.
So cool.
You know, I haven't seen as many complaints. I haven't been on social media a lot, actually, recently, but I did see one complaint, and I don't agree with it, but I do want to say what it was.
Go for it.
They're saying, you know, I don't understand their insistence on constantly expanding the lore when you could just explore the really cool lore that's already there. I'm like, yeah, sure, the lore here is really cool, but why not expand it? Like, I guess they were probably complaining more about just the staff and the spirit world stuff, but I feel like the spirit world has always been lore. We just don't know as much of it.
Yeah, it's not. We never see Aang super delve into it. It's Korra where the spirit realm takes like a very front seat.
Yeah.
The
closest we get to him, I feel like, is with the lion turtle stuff and the taking away of bending. But even then, that's like the extent of it, and then Korra explores that a lot more. But here, I feel like they found another avenue to go down, and expand it even further. And I don't really see,
like, you don't have to give me an alternative for what you wanted this movie to be about, to be like, oh my gosh, they just made up more stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's what this story is. None of this is actually real, sir.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't really understand that, especially because you were saying, I don't want to get too much into worst parts yet and complaints, but I know you were saying, some people were saying this movie didn't have a lot of depth, like it was such a basic story, whatever. And it's like, but then you have people saying there's too much lore. I'm like, what do you want?
Counterpoint.
Do you want more things in the story to make it deeper and new and fresh, or do you want it like, what do you want? I don't understand. Do you want it basic? I don't understand. I just think there's so much lore here that you're never gonna like run out of it.
I mean, certainly with how many avatars there are and going backwards, and like the legacies of each of them. And that's
Mhm.
like kind of my favorite part of this franchise in general,
Mhm.
is like the impact of all of the future avatars.
Yeah.
Love that stuff.
Mhm.
But centering back on Taga,
Mhm.
I like how he's just convincing enough, I think, in his performance to be like, I can see why Aang is blind to all of these red flags.
Yeah. Plus, Aang is such like a Superman type character where he is like naive, but that's like a part of him because he's just so kind and he always sees the good in people. Plus, he wants so badly, like he sees another Airbender finally when he thought they were extinct, and so he wants so badly to connect with him that he's ignoring potential red flags. I think that works perfectly.
Yeah, and I love that they do have this shared experience of losing their people,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea that, yeah, like Katara and gang love Aang, but
Mhm.
they don't know what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
And I love kind of the idea that, you know, Aang's connection to others is what prevents him from being Taga.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's a hard trail, but then even at the end, I really like
Mhm.
the idea that like it's coming from, they're like both coming from the same place,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think touching, which
Yeah.
I think other people could be turned off by, but I'm like, I mean, they're air nomads at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So even if it is perverting what they believe, like they still have like a fundamental belief.
Yeah.
And I also love just having this part of the Avatar lore explore other benders being antagonists.
Mm-hmm.
Because Legend of Korra, you have waterbending twice as the main antagonist, you have earthbending as the main antagonist, and you have an airbender as the main antagonist. But then you have 3 seasons of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which all fire is the main antagonist, and then there's the Earth Kingdom. But, and let me say, I like this airbending antagonist a lot better than the one we got in Legend of Korra.
Mm.
I think it was really unfortunate that his bending was cool. You can fly. Props to ya. You're boring. I don't know, man. He just didn't have aura, especially when he was in that group of such other cooler benders who had like personalities.
Sure.
I was like, whatever. But this guy, maybe it's the Dave Bautista of it all, but it works for me.
I want to shout out that with Aang's potential blindness, like however excused it is, like his blindness to the true nature of Taga, I also really like the detail that at first his friends are also blinded by it. It's not like Aang is super naive and they're like obvious red flags here, Aang. When he first reveals to them, once he learns about the staff and the true nature of it, where it is and all these things, he's like, there's the staff, like we're gonna go get it and then create a bunch of airbenders. I actually in the moment was curious about how they would react to that, but then they were all like collectively so happy for him and cheering for him, and like there wasn't any doubt or reservations at all about that. They were so excited to do that, and it wasn't until Taga started crushing that ship and then potentially putting them all in danger that they started to realize the red flags there. And I really like that detail because that means they were all fooled by it at first. Yeah, so it's not just like Aang's not sticking out like a sore thumb. Like,
Yeah.
wow, you're
He just
so
has the
naive
biggest
to this.
connection to the
Yeah.
end result.
Yes, and he has the biggest reason I think to ignore the red flags, so and hope that it's something different. But yeah, I also love how Katara was the one they focused on in the doubt of that, because I do feel like more than anyone she would be disappointed in someone letting down Aang and not being who he wanted them to be. I feel like that fits her character super well, and so I appreciated that small but important focus.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so truly, Katara's the person who knows him the most in this world.
Yeah.
And you have that combating with this twisted ideal of Aang's culture and seeing that literally clash personified. Loved it.
Well, I mean, that like in the show, I remember she threatened Zuko for similar reasons. She's like, "You may have everyone else fooled, but not me. I will literally take you out if you mess up once. Not in defense of Aang necessarily, but when they go to the Northern Water Tribe and then there's like that misogynistic guy that, I mean, kind of in defense of Aang, but kind of also in defense of herself. When he just like doesn't want to help them. She's also very fiery with him. Like that's just always been in her personality. Toph when she's being hard on Aang and she's like, no, like waterbending this worked for him. There was a lot of clashing there. Like that's always her character. And then, so I'm glad they continued that. I will say, like, despite how mistreated this franchise is by Paramount, there's always been a lot of talented and passionate like
The
workers.
creatives.
Yes, the creatives behind the scenes for it. Yeah. So shout out to them. That's never really been a problem.
Absolutely.
So.
It's the people in suits who think they know more about this franchise than the people who work on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like, how hard is it to hire people whose job it is to seek out potential interest for something and then you decide how to handle it?
I mean, and in any case, I feel like basic marketing research would show you obviously there's a pool of audience here.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know.
Anyways, maybe lastly on best parts, shout out specific scenes that we loved.
I really loved when the Avatar gang was fighting Taga and he was like killing all of them. That's crazy. But I loved seeing them work together. I loved seeing them work together when they were saving the village. I loved each scene where they were each receiving a bird at first to have the message. You made a joke earlier. It's like Love Island. I got a text. I really loved Zuko's, especially because that was funny that the
I hope
guy
that
was
annoying Chamberlain doesn't work for you anymore.
And Zuko's just like, oh my god. No, I didn't. What did he say? He called him the what is the nickname? It's like Fire or something. Oh, Fire Lord or something. That's not the name. But anyways, he had a funny nickname and I forgot what it is. Good, but that's from the show as well, which is fun. Yeah. Sokka's charm was still here. I mentioned that earlier, but it definitely was still here. I loved when he was like driving the ship and everyone's like, just do what I say. And he's like, no, we're gonna crash and we're gonna die. And everyone's like, it'll be fine.
Dude, I loved that scene with the
When he's running on
with
the
the
wheel.
four of them saving that ship from sinking and them all doing like a really important part of that. And then it's still being like terrifying and funny and beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, everything.
Very cool. I loved Sona's temple. That was also very pretty, and I liked all the flashbacks. It was very cool.
I loved when Aang met her and like the flowing
yes. Almost like
what's that, tapestry
cape
thing.
Yeah.
She looked gorgeous, and then the very different aesthetic on her.
Yeah.
I've seen some people talking about how the new Avatar show as well is leaning into more like India, Asia representation, and how that's really been missing from something that's been pretty inclusive to this wide region of Asia.
Yeah.
And I think it's very exciting. I think she has a very distinct but still very like awesome aesthetic to her, where it's like, yeah, that's the freaking Avatar.
Yeah.
Hell
yeah.
Yeah, she was really cool. The lion turtles made me really sad.
Yeah.
But they were really cool still.
Speaking of opposite of that, I loved that we got to see all the bison.
The
that
bison
was so cute.
are alive.
Ugh, that's so cute.
And then Appa went in there, and a new bombshell entered the villa.
New bombshell. I love that he landed, and everyone's like kind of freaking out a little bit. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" It's like, "Hey!" And they're like, "Ah, where did you come from?" No, that was really funny.
Absolutely.
I want to shout out the scene, one of the first ones between Aang and Katara. it just felt so like coupley, and I love that because I feel like we obviously didn't get to see them a lot as a couple in the original show. One, because they're kids, and then two, just because they weren't in a relationship. They just had small little moments here and there. So I love that we got to actually see them be a couple, and like him. I like that his back was cracking when she was healing. That was really fun. That reminded me of the No Way Home thing where they cracked each other's backs. No, that was great. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I love the
I don't have
emphasis on her as a
anything else.
healer in this movie and how that's like
Yes.
important like 4 different times.
So cool. Ooh, I want to shout out the amount of times Toph gets to say, "I'm the greatest earthbender in the world." I think she only does it twice, maybe
I
three
think it's
times.
like 3 times.
But it's very fun that they brought that back. Again, like you can tell these people understand and know and appreciate the original show. Like you see some of those elements come back here. So, yeah.
Maybe switching gears to worst parts.
I don't have a lot. I think the biggest thing to me, and this is, I guess, just unfortunate with the format. It's less of like this movie is failing in this way. But I do wish we got more moments with the gang all together, and maybe little moments here and there with 2 or 3 of them, or like split up groups. I feel like that was so fun in the show, was to see so many little interactions between them and bonding. Now obviously they are already a family here. It's not like you have to have character development to get them to like each other. They already like each other. And again, I get this as a movie, so obviously a lot less time here to explore things like that. But it was only an hour and a half, so I'm like, oh, you could have made it 2 hours and had some little moments here and there. And then I also wish we could have seen them fighting as a group and winning. I feel like every time they fought as a group, except for fixing the ship, they like lost, and they lost pretty bad. So it's like, because they're such a force. But I feel like, unfortunately, because for plot reasons they had to lose, we didn't get to really see them be a force because they always lost. It's like, I want more of what we saw with them fixing the ship. That was awesome. But I want to see them kick somebody's ass and someone be terrified, thinking they just have to fight one of them, and then they have to fight all of them. But I do appreciate that Toph Loki never loses. I think that's kind of funny. I feel like that fits. She's probably Loki the most powerful out of all of them, but I don't know. They're all pretty scary, so I just want to see them actually be a threat, you know? It's okay. It's fine.
What?
But again, when you have a longer movie, you could put a scene where you're defeating a bad guy that's not important so they can actually defeat him.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. I feel like with how like just powerful they are, I think the struggle is kind of like finding the characters that could put up the fight against all of them.
yeah, you'd have to find someone that gives them a run for their money, but like obviously it'd be boring to see them just constantly like defeat someone in 5 seconds. You have to find a good balance of their struggle, but they still win. And I feel like it could be cool when they're winning together. Like, again, I liked for that brief moment when they were working together against Taga and were winning before he turns around and, defeats them all. That was so cool, seeing them, like, come in one-on-one, all, like, attacking him. Even Sokka was in there. Like, I loved that.
And
So.
would you say whenever they're fighting, like, the air army, that's... Because I feel like they won that.
Yeah.
Because then they went to go see what Aang was up to.
But then I still feel like at the end they were still doing it's not like they were defeated. Like the one girl still was about to attack some villagers, the one with like the tattoos or whatever on the eyes. She was still about to attack some villagers before she lost her powers in that moment. So it's like, it was, to me, that's still showing that they're still in the game, I guess. Maybe they're not attacking the Avatar gang anymore, but they're still attacking villagers. I feel like when you win a fight, they're like knocked out or captured in some way.
Yep.
You know? I don't know. Just not a big thing, but I did give this movie 4 out of 5 stars because of those things. I think it could be elevated just not in the ways that other people are complaining.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I would say I do think this movie could have been a little longer. I feel like, though, a big strength of this movie is all of these characters feel basically just like they did in the show.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like there's a huge need to reestablish dynamics or anything, because they slide right back into them amazingly well.
Yeah.
So even though I'd obviously like to see more interactions, I think what we had feels pretty close to the right amount for me, given the setting of this movie.
That's a hard balance to find too. Like, I wonder if there's a way where, because of whatever conflict is happening in the movie, maybe there's conflict within the group. Like, maybe they're divided on how to handle a situation, and then they have to figure that out as an adult gang now. But again, you'd have to be careful because it's not like they're teenagers anymore. They're not going to be, theoretically, as petty, and, you know. So you have to find a different balance with that. But I don't know. I'd be interested to see them try and see what that could look like.
I agree. I have one, I think, valid complaint.
Okay.
Dude, whenever it's the opening scene with Aang in the temple, and that one girl's like, oh my god, he saved me. It's like,
He's the
what
Avatar.
are you talking about? The whole denied thing.
No, I agree. I honestly didn't care for them. I feel like I wanted more from them.
Their action, like the main four, loved every time they showed up, because I was like, your action's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
And then they got airbending, and I was like, yeah. But I don't know. I feel like their reasoning is too, like, invalid.
We just
Whenever...
I don't know. We didn't see a lot of them. Like, they reminded me of, what is it? The Flag Smashers? What are they called from the Captain America show? Except we did get more, like, lore and explanation with them. So, like, I don't know. I feel like, again, hitting it to 2 hours, you can spend a few minutes explaining, like, what happened to these people specifically, or are they just simply mad because they don't have powers? Yeah,
like, to make them just be so objectively the worst. But then, like later they're like, oh, but now we're gonna serve the air nomads, and it's like, he stopped the war that you're complaining about.
I just feel like I can see so many scenarios that could happen in a flashback to be like, oh yeah, like, I'd hate all benders too if that happened. But I do feel like we still need that.
Yes.
I don't feel like that's implied enough.
Yeah. Not to the extent that these people they're gonna destroy a whole city of benders and non-benders.
I know. I'm like, okay, we need to see something serious happen with them. Like, I'm sure something did, but I don't know. No, especially, like, we're supposed to believe that the Avatar gang has created such a peaceful, unified city. It's like, okay, well, did they not? Or are there ways in which they're failing and don't even know about? Like, make it more personal. Like why are they so...
Like, where did these people... Clearly, they come from, like, all over the place or whatever, but it's like, how did the Avatar ending the war not help them now?
Yeah.
And, like, how are they not able to just, like, go be normal now? Why are they still here?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. And then there were a few complaints of Zuko's where they're like, you sit on a throne created by 100-year war. And I'm like...
And then here you are,
but he's
inciting more war.
Yeah. So it's just like, okay, he's on the throne and making peace. Unlike what his father did in the 100-year war. So it's like, what do you want him to do? Like, not sit on the throne and do anything and not help create peace? What's the solution there? And again, like you said, and then they're the ones creating war. So it's like, you can't be the one to say that.
Yeah,
you know?
It's so weird. And, like, he had, like, the spirit staff. So, like, there's even an argument to be made where he could, like, corrupt them, which is a big part of his character. He's twisting Aang's beliefs into something horrible. And, like, if you say that he did the same with the staff to what they believed, I think that's a pretty easy... I think that would be a really easy round out to explain the crazy things these people are saying.
Yeah.
But...
No, we just didn't get that, so I don't know what to think.
bizarre. And then when that girl has the audacity to tell Katara, I didn't have the privileges you had growing up. And it's like, dude,
Katara of all people.
who are you talking to?
This is the wrong girl to say this to. First of all, her entire village basically got killed. Her mother got killed right in front of her. Everyone in her village is misogynistic to her, especially her brother. So it's just like, this is not the girl to say that to.
That like,
Out of all people. Like, I don't know. Say that to Toph, I guess.
The closest.
Because you wouldn't know that she actually hated her upbringing. You would probably think it's privileged, and maybe it was, but different to her. Anyways, it's like Katara's not the person to say that to.
so crazy. Two of the biggest critiques I've seen going around, is one of the biggest ones is that the script is very predictable. To which I say, I don't know, we kind of already have what happens before and after this, so they're a little limited in what they can do.
Yeah. It's like, when the Avatar, I think they still did a good job, like, when the Avatar gang, the entire gang, like, dies, that's still crazy. Like, yes, obviously we know they come back, because they're in Legend of Korra, but I still feel like they did a good job at creating that moment as dramatic. Like, it didn't feel shallow just because we know they come back.
Yeah, the idea that there's no other airbenders whenever Korra starts, and then even with the reveal that Toga's, a bad guy. Taga, sorry. I feel like it's still done well. Like, even if it's obvious, I think there's an intentionality behind, a lot of things aren't making sense. Why would the Avatar put him in a mountain all the way up here that only another Avatar could break out? And then, where is Sonam in all of this? Why is she disconnected from the Avatar state? And there's, like, a lot of mystery around that. And respectfully, if you're saying you had all the answers to that, like, we are having a really fun time being like, if Sonam's not here, how is she not connected to the Avatar? Did he disconnect her from that? How did... So it's really giving, to me, people who, like, look at Knives Out and are like, this is a bad movie because I knew who the killer was. And it's like, okay, well, it's a movie. It's not about the destination. It's about the arc and the journey of how we get there. Yeah. And frankly, if this movie didn't work for you, predictability isn't the problem, because that's not the draw. It's an awesome movie.
I don't think I minded the, I guess, somewhat predictability of the plot. Like, and I say somewhat just because I don't want it to come off as like a diss, because it's not. I don't think I minded it because a lot of the times those reveals were also used to reveal some more lore, and I enjoyed the lore. So it's like I had a fun time while it was happening. So I don't feel like I'm bored just because I know it's going to happen. It's almost like nice to some movies. Like, it's like watching a rom-com. What's fun about it is they're going to end up together. And then is the journey along the way to that fun or not?
Yeah. Like, I feel like you're complaining about the wrong part if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, this is also supposed to be accessible to kids as well. And so, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm super bothered by the basic plot or whatever. I liked everything else going on, too, and it worked for me, so.
Yeah.
The bone structure was good, and the layers on top were great.
Yeah, predictability and script simplification is the biggest things that I've seen. And I don't know. I think it's not spelling anything out for you, but I think all of the details... Because I think what's really interesting here is the dynamics between all of the characters and what a foil Taga and Aang are to each other. And then the dynamic that Aang has with all of the other people in the gang. And, I think either that works for you or it doesn't. That's where the magic is in this movie.
Well, even then, it's like, I feel like some of the predictability comes from just knowing these characters so well. Like, we know that Aang is going to be naive and trust him because we know Aang and his personality and why he would, fall to this narrative, because he wants it to be true so bad. And then we know, I feel like I predicted very early on that, of course, he's going to break the staff at some point or destroy it in some way, take away its power. And he did, because that's just within, like, that's just him. That's what he would do. Now, Korra would probably mess some things up first. Because she's fun and quirky like that. But Aang, it's like you know him and you know his personality. And so it is a pattern. So, again, it's just like, it's like you said, they have a limited space because we know the before and after. And we know these characters so well. So that also goes to say,
we know
of
them really
course
well,
they're gonna
and
do
they do a
this.
really good job to stay true to each character.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not bothered by it.
I don't know. I almost wonder what they could have done to make Taga's betrayal like less like obviously coming.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the point that I think that that's kind of whatever, because I think it builds attention, and looking at the dynamic between him and the other benders versus Aang is, you know, fascinating.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they would do that and then still get to, I think, the awesome result of Twisted Airbender versus Airbender.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm
Weh.
not bothered by what we got. That's kind of just where my head's at.
Indeed. Talking about that. Reception.
I actually have no idea what this is.
So
Literally, I couldn't even begin to tell you what this reception is. I'm a little scared. I feel like audiences are going to be lower, but I hope critics are still solid. I'm scared.
what's your best guess?
I'll be a little like, I don't know, pessimistic. I guess I'll say, I hope I'm wrong, 85 for critics and 75 for audience.
It is 86 for critics. You kind of ate that. And 96
Good.
for audiences.
Good. I'm glad I'm wrong. I'm glad that the complaints apparently are minor. So.
Yeah. From what I'm
Goodness.
seeing, a lot of it's still like the animation is great in making this movie, and then everything else is kind of meh. Even if I disagree to that a lot, at least they're enjoying it
Yeah.
more than they're hating on it.
Yeah. I agree.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, so they have this super limited right now, solely for the fact that it can be awards nominated.
So it's only in, I believe, one theater in LA and one theater in New York.
So, the question being, do you think this has any kind of a chance?
No, I think if they gave it a proper release, the Oscars might have given it a nom. Maybe. I think it has no chance now. Kind of at all. Maybe some like Kids' Choice Awards or some like minor stuff, but nothing like super deep in the awards race.
I don't know. I don't think it has any chance of winning. I think especially even just given a combination of the drama and the other competitors.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at animators being the ones who pick the nominees, Avatar: The Last Airbender has a crazy influence, at least among general audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be surprised if that didn't bleed into the actual animating community.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be the animators themselves who go up there to accept the award, as we saw with K-pop Demon Hunters, which was also treated pretty horribly by Netflix, comparatively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know if it's a non-starter. And I think, to me, this is one of the stronger animated movies of the year. Not the at the end of the year, it definitely won't be the strongest.
Yeah,
but
because we have Wildwood. I don't know if Hex is gonna make some noise. I think they'll pay attention more towards Hopper and Toy Story 5. But that's 3 already out of the 5 noms, and I feel like there's probably gonna be a couple that pop up later. So I just don't know if this will make the cut. I mean, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to complain necessarily. It depends on whose spot it takes, who's not in there, if they're in there. But I think this is solid. I think depending on who's also there with them. I'm not gonna say it would be undeserved. I just would not be surprised at all if it does not make any noise. So we'll see.
And lastly, I wanted to talk about the other upcoming Avatar projects.
I'm somewhat excited, and but I do have some reservations for the new show. We just got like was it a teaser trailer or full trailer?
I want to say teaser.
No.
It leaves a lot out.
Yeah. But it was, I think, for the most part, what we had heard about and expected with the twin concepts. I do think it's interesting that one of the twins that's not the Avatar was raised as if they were going to be the Avatar, and the other one was kind of like paid dust. So I think that could bring a lot of interesting elements. I am, however, I think the most curious about kind of like the rest of the internet. What the heck happened with Korra? Girl, what happened? I feel like somebody set you up. Because she's already hated on enough. So I'm like, okay, now she's like supposed to be the reason the Earth like hates the Avatar or the whatever, wherever they are. Like, I don't know if I like that, but I could see the potential for, if somebody had asked her to do something, that wouldn't bring balance. And so as the Avatar, she said no. And that brought on a big destruction and war. And who knows, like maybe that happened towards the end of her life. I don't know. I don't really know if we know the full timeline of all of that. I don't know. I think there's possibilities of what could happen. I'm just kind of with the internet a little nervous right now. Because I don't want it to actually end up being her fault. One, because she's so hated on already, and two, because we had an entire show of her making a lot of mistakes and growing from them. It's like, I don't want that to happen again. But it does set up for, I think, a very interesting but uphill battle for this new Avatar. So, we'll see.
Very interesting.
I'm mad at it.
Apocalyptic Avatar feels it's so different. Like,
It's
if you
different.
thought The Last Airbender and Korra was different, this is way further than either of those. So, I don't know. I'm very interested to see it. I'm very curious to see what the Avatar state with just Korra looks like now. Because she should be able to get her answers pretty quick. If she is able to lock into that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens to you, when it's Pavi and her twin. I'm very interested to see the whole lost twin dynamic. What does raising the Avatar look like, and how do you not realize that she's not the Avatar a little quicker?
Yeah, I'm very interested in that.
And another interesting note, though, is people are clocking Pavi's really young. So Korra's gang could still be around.
Because she had some gray streaks, but she didn't have a full head of gray hair, so she might have died fairly young. So yeah, I don't know. They don't even have to be no offense to you, Katara girl, Katara level old. She was old in that show, but yeah, she lived a long time.
Yeah. And then also people talking about how she has Asami's face, like Korra has Katara's face. Love that trend.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm excited for it. And then whatever other movies they may make, I don't know what's still confirmed to be making right now, but I would.
The only thing I looked up before we started. So right now the only things official are this show and then the last season of the Netflix. And on a scale of 1 to 10,
actually, I'm at a 7, and I'm only that high because I love some of the fight scenes and things, especially in those last 4 or 5 episodes. I love the reuniting of Zuko and Iroh. I love him and the White Lotus gang fighting together. I love obviously the Aang fight, everything the gang does with the ships, Zuko and Azula, Azula and Katara. I love so many things that happen, especially towards the end, which I think are going to take up a majority of season 3. I love when they're undercover and go on their own little adventures. Katara's gonna learn bloodbending. Zuko's gonna join them. The dragons are gonna be there's so much to look forward to, And visually, I feel like the show overall does a good job, especially with the bending. And so I have a lot of faith that I am going to enjoy the scenes. I just don't know how much I'm going to enjoy it as a whole and how they bring it all together. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm probably like at a 4. I
get
was
it.
burned after this last season. I think the first season is like close to recommendable,
Yeah.
but season 2 is like okay, and we lost that even. So we'll see. But no, we've not heard anything official on the Kyoshi, Korra, or Zuko movie. Although, quick ranking, what order would you want of excitement would you be for those 3?
What is it? Kyoshi?
Kyoshi, Korra, and Zuko.
I think at this point, it depends on what they do with Korra. If we could get it like before the show, I'd be like 1. But I'm guessing we're gonna get an explanation, so I don't know about Korra. I would say probably Kyoshi, Korra, Zuko.
That's my order.
I need to hear like the pitches for these. Like, what is it gonna be about exactly?
You know what? A Kyoshi one, I'm sold off the bat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's why I put it number 1.
Kyoshi.
Zuko, like I love Zuko. He's one of my favorite characters, like of all time. But like, what is it gonna be
Ooh,
about?
here's my pitch.
I don't know.
Azula escapes and forms a little contraband, and he has to work specifically with Ty Lee and May to get her back.
I wouldn't be against that, but I would also love if somehow maybe him and Azula had to team up in some way and work together. That could be interesting. I just don't know.
I don't know what it would take
what
for Azula
her-
to do that.
No, I know. I don't know what her mental state is like right now. So that also depends. If it had something to do with maybe finding out something about their mother, that could be interesting, because I've loved that element with the Netflix show, how they're focusing more on both of their experiences with their mother. So if it had something to do with maybe finding her, because that's how the show kind of ends, is him saying, what did you do with my mother? And we never hear anything about that, basically. So I actually would love that if
That's
was
a good pitch.
the pitch.
But I also want Ty Lee and May there. Like,
Yeah.
come on. What a fun little ensemble.
Yeah.
Give him another beach day.
Yeah. I mean, he could just have scenes with Azula while she's in prison and then actually go out and work with Ty Lee and May. But also, what happened to May? She wasn't in this movie. So, like, what happened? Why'd you break up?
Who
Anyways,
knows?
I don't know. Anyways.
And I think... Ooh, did we want to quickly maybe rank the 5 projects of Avatar?
Sure. Okay. I'm probably going to forget one. Anyways, obviously, the live action movie,
The Airbender.
bottom of the
the
barrel
last Airbender
there.
movie. Solo.
Huge elevation, actually, genuinely, is the Netflix show.
Agreed.
And I genuinely mean that, because the movie is so bad. And then decent sized jump, I would say, ooh, this is actually hard, because I guess I'll say the movie, this movie, just because we get so much more from what my next one is, the Korra show. Even though obviously it has more time, therefore it has low lows, but it has really high highs, so it just is developed a lot more. Neither of their fault. It's just kind of the format. But I guess I'll put Korra second just because of that. And then obviously the original show.
Yeah, I would
So-
do The Last Airbender, Netflix, Korra, the movie Last Airbender.
Fair enough. Yeah.
What?
Let us know your rankings.
Yeah, we would love to hear that. And that is going to draw our episode to a close. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you haven't seen it already, Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender is currently streaming on Paramount Plus, and we recommend.
Yeah.
So,
Period.
thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm your host, Luke,
And I'm your host, Alicia.
and thank you so much for watching Not So Straight Nerds.
Bye.